So whenever I talk about psychoactive substances, there's always a caution that one needs to address, which is some people should never go near these substances, that it could catalyze for a borderline personality, it could catalyze a whole schizophrenic break. And so it's important for people to really look at these powerful sacraments and only use them within a proper set and setting, which would support the highest kind of possibility for their spiritual development. And so there are certain safe plant teachers, such as ayahuasca, which really the active ingredient is dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, and this is a naturally occurring neurotransmitter. So it's already in use in all of us as human beings. We're all on this illicit Schedule I drug right now. Hence the absurdity of this whole legal situation. Then you've got psilocybin, which is the substance that Roland Griffiths and Walter Pahnke used in their scientific experiments to verify the mystic state in relation to psychedelics or entheogens. So you've got ayahuasca or DMT, you've got psilocybin, you've got mescaline from the peyote cactus, and those three, as plant teachers, are venerable. And with the psilocybin, you'd say that that's the psychedelic mushroom, or the flesh of the gods, as Teonanacatl, as they say down in Mexico. Now, the lysergic acid amides and lysergic acid diethylamide, LSD, I would also class as one of the probably the most powerful of all the substances, or entheogens. It's the king of the entheogens, I guess. And because of its active in such tiny amounts. And it was Hoffman's great discovery, I think, that 70 years ago, actually this year, that started this psychedelic revolution. And so he really helped to put the classic understanding that these were not simply drugs like cocaine or heroin or any of the other illicit substances. They were non-addictive. It's not something you necessarily want to go running back and repeat because they're very powerful. They're exhausting. They inform us with so much information from so many different dimensions that it takes a while to digest this as a psyche. And so for most people, they're not naturally inclined to doing it repeatedly to their detriment. And within the sacred and religious settings like the Santo Daime. So there's a question about how I make a painting. So I'll take an example of the monochord, which is a recent piece that was just installed at the Temple of Music here in Britain just yesterday. And so that piece started, I guess, 2 years ago when my wife and I were imagining, actually we were on psilocybin and in Bali in a swimming pool, and imagining what we would create for this niche at the Temple of Music. And so we both got a vision of a fellow reaching up and a kind of a line down the center. And so this was for me like a direct hit. I started, you know, working, and Allyson was saying that's what I saw too. So the best stuff comes about through a kind of third mind, I think, that is active through Allyson and I working together. And so I worked on a series of drawings then based on that vision. And the vision was interesting because it had a view of both the highest heavens and the lowest, sort of most earthly or grounded material dimensions in one plane. It was kind of like Escher took the high and low and kind of bent the perspective a little bit. So you'd have like a reality sausage, you know, pinched at both ends, but just what you could perceive. And so I worked on drawings for months, actually, to try and work out the grid. And I kept redrawing and redrawing the grid, and then wove in a special element of the grid that is related to Allyson's work. And I had I wanted to have jewels inside, so they were seen as an emerald grid, and the blue was dominant in the entire thing. And I'd never done a blue painting, you know, just focused on blue, but this became like the blue boy. And so I've been painting it for, well, off and on over the last 2 years, or a year and a half. I guess the sketches took, unfortunately, too many months. But at any rate, it was crystallizing, and there are elements about it that we absolutely saw in the vision. But then, when it was coming closer to completion, how we were going to have this energy swirling around the body, because we felt like it really needed some element of dynamism, and it being in this blue region, the idea of bubbles, like if you were underwater and sort of air bubbles and things like that, seemed to really make sense. And they were also like prayers, I felt like prayers of aspiration. So it has a figure who's pointing up and looking up, and the light is coming directly into their eye. And so when we see the light, we become illuminated. And this monochord, it's an old alchemical idea that there's a string, you know, strung from heaven to earth, and we're that string, and God tunes it, you know. So this was the temple of music, so I thought, like, wow, that's perfect, you know, it has to be this musical thing. And so it was a truly enchanted and amazing ceremony we had yesterday to you know, inaugurate this installation of this piece, which the temple seemed to have been waiting for it. There's a lapis lazuli last stone that was set in the temple, which I had forgotten about completely for my previous visit, but then you stand on that blue spot and you look at the blue painting in it, and the resonant field of the sacred geometry of the temple really kicks in, and especially with ceremonial kind of music. It's really, really beautiful. So usually it comes from a vision. I don't just kind of freehand improvise, although I have had some experiences with that, and I am very interested in experimenting with my art and pushing its edge. Allyson and I have collaborated on a number of paintings, and I've also collaborated with some other artists, so sometimes that involves a more spontaneous just reaction to the moment, and that's been exciting too. So I think whatever way you can engage your creative spirit is a healing and important thing for all people. You know, Otto Rank spoke of how he felt like most neurotics were just unexpressed artists, and he felt like the creative expression is important health matter for everyone. You know, however it happens, if you do gardening, if you cook, if you just even the way that you think about your life, it's you are the author of your story about your life, and that is the position of a artist. What story are you going to tell about your life? How you hold your life, what context you hold it in, is absolutely an act of creative expression. We are living within a creation, a divine creation, and you know, God is the divine artist, and the universe is the great masterwork. And so I feel like the arts can play a part in the awakening of humanity, so that we can turn the ship around away from self-destruction and lead toward a planetary civilization, which is based on a sustainable relationship with nature, which we must get to, or risk self-destruction.